So the last thing we did in the chapter was we evaluated linear functions. And the first thing I want to drive home is just a linear function and a linear equation are exactly the same thing. So you'll see this notation now, f of x equals mx plus b. And it's the same as saying y equals mx plus b. Those are no different. So you can think of y and f of x as the same thing, as synonyms, right? And so you can think of your y-axis, if we label that. You could also think of it as f of x. So your y value and your f of x value are the same. Why would they do two ways of just saying exactly the same thing? Well, what they're trying to drive home is that the idea of that we're inputting the x value and we're getting out the y value, right? They're really trying to drive home that idea of the function, and where we plug in an x value and we're getting a y value based on that. And so that's why they write it like that. And so all we have to do to evaluate the function is just plug in the x values that they're asking for and just see what we get, like we would do even if it said y, like we did at the beginning when we plugged in x values in our table and got the y values that matched up. It's the same idea. So the first one that says evaluate for x equals 2. So all we're going to do is write f of 2, right? And that says f of 2. That's how you read that. F of 2 equals 1/2 times 2, which because that's what we're plugging in for x, plus 2. So 1/2 of 2 is just 1. So that's 1 plus 2, and that's 3. So this says f of 2 is 3. So keep this in mind. You plugged in 2. That was the x value, right? You got 3. And remember, we said that f of x is synonymous with y. So that's our y or f of x value. So that point, if we check it out, should be on our graph. So we're going to go to x value of 2 up to 3. And sure enough, 2, 3 is on our graph. And again, x is nothing changed about the x. All we're doing now is we're calling the y value f of x. So f of 2 is 3. And we can see it right there. So the other one it asks us to do is evaluate x equals -4. So same idea. I'm going to just take f of -4. I'm just plugging in -4. And I get 1/2 of -4 plus 2. And half of 4 is 2, but it's negative. So it's -2 plus 2. And that obviously is 0. So again, I plugged in -4. That's my x value. I got out 0. That's my y or f of x value. And that combination is a point. So it can go to -4 for x, 0 for y, and that point should be on the graph. So I'm going to go -4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Not going up or down because it's 0. And sure enough, right there, we are on the graph. So -4, 0 is on our graph. And so to answer the question, when you evaluated the function for 2, you got 3. And when you evaluated the function for -4, you got 0. And the one more way to say it would be f of 2 is 3 and f of -4 is 0. Those all mean the same thing. That's just the language of functions. So you should go ahead and you should try one more, and you can check what you get against the graph that's there. And I would pause the video to do that, then come back and see how you did, compare it against what I've got. So it says evaluate the function for x of x is 7. So I'll start there. So I have f of 7 is 2 times 7 minus 3. And 2 times 7 is 14, and 14 minus 3 is 11. So I have f of 7. So remember, my x value is 7 that I'm plugging in. And when I'm getting out, my function value or y value is 11. So 7, 11 should be on the graph. So I go 5, 6, 7, up to 11. So 5, 10, 11. Sure enough, 7, 11 is on there. So it's what we expected, and so it worked out. So now it says evaluate for x is 0. So f of 0 equals 2 times 0 minus 3. 2 times 0 is just 0. So 0 minus 3 is just -3. And so we plugged in 0. That was my x value, so 0. And we got a y value or a function value of -3. So that point, 0, -3, should also be on our graph. So I'm at the origin. I'm not going left or right at all. And I should have labeled my x and y axes or f of x axis, right? Anyway, so I'm at the origin. I'm going down 3. 1, 2, 3. And sure enough, that point, 0, -3 is on the graph. And so just quick review from before. Remember, this is where I'm crossing my y-axis. So this is my y-intercept. And notice, just as you would expect, wherever you cross the y-axis, your x value is 0. So hopefully you got 7, 11, and 0, -3. So just some quick review of vocabulary that you should take a look at, and you should keep this open as you're working on your quiz, right? So our slope, if you see the symbol M, that's just a review for slope. But the key is to remember slope is rise over run. And it can't be run over rise. It's always how much you're going up or down compared to how much you're going left or right. And the equation that we use for that is your y2 value, your second y value, minus your first y value, over your change in x is your x2 minus x1. So in the slope-intercept notation, just don't forget your slope is m, the b is your y-intercept, and the x's and y's are just all of the points that are on your line, all of your x, y coordinates that are on the line. And then function notation, it just means f of x, but this is just the same thing as y. Okay, those are synonymous. So take a look at this, go through the problems. If you have any questions, you can email me and we'll set up a time to review. And then I'll send out the link in your Google Classroom that you can click to take your quiz. And you should use this while you're taking your quiz. So if you're stuck on something on the quiz, come back to the video, check it out, gain comfort, and then and finish your quiz and submit that. And I